Is this the end of altcoins as we know it? That seems to be a very popular question as I have researched it online to make this video. I'm going to say that with certainty that it's no, it is not going to be the end of altcoins as we know it. Now, with the caveat, of course, is that the altcoin market as a whole, right? I'm looking at total three, which is basically the altcoin market excluding Ethereum, right? I don't think Ethereum is gonna go anywhere. I mean, I'm not, I'm a chart guy, so I'm just gonna base my argument based on the charts, okay? And I'm gonna show you why I say that, okay? Now, for any individual smaller altcoins, I cannot say with 100% certainty, but I'm just saying the altcoin market as a whole, and I'm focusing on total three. Okay, so I don't really say much with certainty, but as a whole, total three, I don't think that is gonna be the end of it with certainty. Okay, so let me go ahead and we're gonna explore some charts today as usual. If you guys come to my channel on a daily basis, you guys know that I am basing my arguments based on the charts, and I will break down the charts for you. Look at the details a lot of the other channels don't go deeply into. And I'm going to look at the charts every day for almost the entirety of my video, okay? Of course, none of what I'm saying is financial advice. It's purely my speculations, opinions, right? Now let's go ahead and dive right into the charts. I usually start with the Bitcoin chart because that is the most important. That is the driver of the entire crypto markets. Let's take a look into the Bitcoin chart here. We're still making higher highs and higher lows on the hourly time frame. Okay, but what I'm really paying attention to when it comes to a more important chart is the weekly time frame, because we have touched down on the weekly 50 SMA earlier this week at about 77,000. Very important support here because we haven't touched down to that support since since back in September of 2024. Okay, which was basically the support that we touched down to before we actually had that breakout above 70,000. Okay, that long consolidation, 2024, painful consolidation. If you guys held altcoins, you guys know what I mean. All right, now we have touched down to the 50 SMA again, the gray line. Okay, and I've been saying this, right? So we have broken down from the weekly 21 SMA, but we still have yet to touch and retest that weekly 21 SMA, which is the blue line here, which I would say that I rarely see that price action would actually just continue breaking down a support without going back up to retest it. It's not 100% that it will, but I'm just saying it's not very common that I see that it will go back and retest it, and that is at about 93,000. Okay, it's coming down a little bit. Okay, so this is basically what I'm looking at right on the weekly time frame. Very important that the weekly 50 SMA holds as support. If we actually get a pretty bullish candle here, that would be a very good sign. It looks like we're having a pretty good bullish candle here right now. Okay, I don't usually see quite a bit of a price action on Saturdays, right? Sundays maybe, because of just the afternoon and futures open for stock markets. I will usually see some uh, price action coming in Sunday afternoon. I'm in Pacific Standard Time, okay? And the Monday candle actually starts opening on 5 o'clock here. So, right. So that is basically what I'm looking at Saturday. Let's come over here to the 3 day time frame, which has been the talk of the town this week because of this double bottom pattern. And that I pointed out earlier this week, right before it even pumped. Okay, I think I said it, and then I went to the gym for an hour, and it just pumped like over 6-7%. Okay, it was crazy. Now, 3 day time frame, double bottom, very obvious. Double bottoms are reversal patterns. Okay, some very key details on this chart here, on this 3-day chart. Okay, now quite a bit of resistance right along this top trend line. I'm just putting this possible falling wedge pattern that could be developing still out there just to get an estimate. Okay, if there are any downsides, I will get a pretty good estimate of what the downside is according to this bottom trend line. But this upper trend line here, what I'm looking at is first of all going to be about the 87,000 to about the 89,000 level. Okay, that's basically where the neckline is, right? That is very important if you want to break out of this double bottom pattern. You don't want to see a failure to break out of this double bottom pattern because that could mean more downside for Bitcoin. So 87 to 89, very important resistance. Of course, from here, we are still at a very important level, right? This range here, because we have quite a bit of daily moving averages above us that are resistance right now, including the daily 50 SMA, which is the gray line here. Daily 200 SMA, also about 87,000. So from where we are to about 89,000, very important range. Of course, the significance of 89,000 is we break out of this double bottom pattern. Okay. Now, the price target, if we actually break out of that double bottom pattern, would be about 104,000, which is basically you take the range from the neckline, which is about 89,000, down to the bottom, right? And then you put that range back on top of the neckline, and you should get a price target. Price targets are estimates, right? It could be more or less, but it's still very important to get an idea, right? Now, that is basically what I'm looking at for key resistances. Of course, if price action could actually get back up to the previous all-time high at about 110,000, then that's going to be the next key resistance, okay? So right now, we're at a very key level. Let's see if price action could actually continue breaking above this. Of course, some very key tests here as well, because I have this upward trend line, quite a bit of daily moving averages, 3-day moving average. Okay, now let's come over here to the smaller time frames, 12-hour. Okay, we had a double bottom on the 12-hour. We broke out of that. Price target for that would be about 87.5, right? And we're still setting higher highs and higher lows on the 12-hour time frame, so it still looks good on this time frame here. 6-hour, I still see higher highs and higher lows. Even coming down to the hourly time frame, like I mentioned, we still see that pattern. Now, if this trajectory actually breaks and we don't see a higher high and higher low on that time frame anymore, that's when I actually zoom out and see which time frame I'm still seeing that trajectory, right? It's very important because that is indicative of an uptrend. Higher highs and higher lows. If that pattern actually breaks, what I do is I zoom out and see which time frames are still having that trajectory, and I would open and close positions based on what I'm seeing, right? Or I will consider opening and closing positions based on what I'm seeing, right? That is kind of the general rule of thumb, right? Now let's come over here to the S&P 500 futures, ES1 exclamation mark. Okay, very important weekly time frame chart here as well, because price action did come down to 4,800, about 4,800, which was the breakout point of this very long consolidation pattern for the stock market as well, since back in this cup and handle, since back in 2021. It broke out of it in January 2024, and we're basically retesting that breakout level, 4,800. If that level does not hold, then we're looking at about the 4,700 level, which is the weekly 200 SMA, the orange line. Also very important moving average. Let's come over here to the daily time frame, where we're seeing still a very good bounce here on this daily time frame for the stock market. And the importance of the stock market is that it's very highly correlated with Bitcoin. If you guys actually take a look into the weekly time frame, very similar pattern here, very similar shape here, right? So that's why I also pay attention to the stock market, because it could be a front running signal for Bitcoin, which is the driver of the crypto markets. Now let's come over here to the daily time frame. Very important. Very strong bounce, because I'm saying that because of the RSI, right? Very strong bounce. This tells me if the price action was to actually make a lower or equal low on the price action chart, that lower or equal low on the price action chart is going to have to invalidate this signal right here at about a reading of 22, okay, on the RSI daily time frame. In order for me to say that there's not going to be another bounce that comes after that low. So that's what it implies. RSI, very simple, very effective indicator. It's one of the few indicators I use. I know there's a bunch of fancy indicators out there. I don't think it matters, what indicators you use, as long as you're very good at reading it, right? Now, so basically that's what I'm seeing. As long as the daily time frame still holds about 5100 on the stock market, I would still say that this bounce is still looking pretty good, right? So that is what I'm seeing. Now let's come over here to the Bitcoin chart here. I cannot go without mentioning the downside as well, because that is part of the risk management, right, in terms of trading. Okay, now on the daily time frame, right, if we actually start getting daily candle closes below 76,000, then that's not going to be looking good, right? We could come back down here and retest about 71,000, right? If we start getting 3-day candle closes below 78,000, if you guys can see, then that's not going to be looking good for this double bottom pattern as well, and we could still be coming down to the low 70s, which is a very important level because we've been consolidating below that level last year, right? A lot of last year, if you guys see what I mean right here, right? That's basically what I'm looking at. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment. I'll be sure to answer any questions, right? I will follow up with you guys. And that's basically it. Happy Saturday. Have a beautiful day.